Well, it's happened. Home prices have fallen for the first time in a really long time, and we're about to see a shift in the real estate market and the overall economy. If you read the headlines, you'll see the national media is pushing a pessimistic narrative and sparking fear. This is because fear is what draws eyeballs and clicks on the internet. This is exactly why we need to dig into the data, get the real story, and more importantly, see if there's any opportunities coming. So today I'm going to talk about why the market has slowed down, when the market might shift back to normal, and if there are any opportunities to be on the lookout for. Housing bubble fears are nothing new. Many in the media have been calling for gloom and doom for years. In fact, if you had followed the advice of CNBC and believe there are multiple headlines between 2015 and 21 calling for huge drops in the housing market, you would have missed out on 59% appreciation in housing during that time. The housing market is currently experiencing a temporary pause due to elevated mortgage rates. The underlying fundamentals of the housing market are strong. As I'll show you, these fundamentals will support home prices and prevent a crash. First, let's take a look at rates. The real reason real estate sales activity has slowed so much this year is because we've experienced the fastest increase in mortgage rates in generations. Rates went from the 2% range to the 7% range in under a year. That rapid increase has knocked many potential buyers out of the market due to affordability, and many more simply from sticker shock. This reduction in buyer demand has caused the number of housing sales to drop dramatically, and sellers of homes now have to compete for the attention of fewer willing and able home buyers. They do this by dropping their asking prices. So why did rates go up so fast? One word: inflation. In early 21, inflation started to skyrocket due to COVID-induced shocks to the world's supply chain and too much stimulus to the economy by the Fed in keeping rates artificially low. It wasn't until the beginning of 2022, when the Fed stopped their easy money policies, also known as QE, that rates really began rising to keep up with inflation. Interest rates are primarily driven by inflation, and so to project when we will see interest rates drop, we need to understand the future of inflation and where that may be headed. The Fed's favorite gauge of inflation is a number called the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index. This is a chart showing the past CPI readings for a little over a year. The reason we've had such high inflation in 22 is that the CPI numbers from 2021 were extremely low because of the COVID-depressed economy. The 12-month comparisons in 22 were in many cases triple the artificially low 21 numbers. Now that we're nearing the end of 2022, the low 2021 numbers will start to be replaced with the higher numbers from October of 21, and we'll start to see the CPI numbers flatten out and decline, thereby lowering inflation. December of 22 will likely be peak inflation, and we should see both inflation and mortgage rates start to trend lower. Now, another factor that we expect to come into play in driving interest rates lower is a pending recession. A recession is defined by a decline in our country's economic output and is actually deflationary. Deflation means that prices of goods and services actually start to go down due to reduced economic activity. Deflation also leads to lower interest rates. There are many indicators that suggest we're headed for a recession very soon. The inversion of the 10-year versus the 2-year yield curve, the Conference Board leading economic index, and a potential bottoming of the unemployment rate all strongly suggest that a recession is on the horizon. This is important because going all the way back to the 80s, we see that recessions lead to lower interest rates. Now stay with me here. Many that are first-time homebuyer age hear the word recession and think back to the Great Recession of 2007. In that recession, the reason for the recession was an oversupply of homes layered on top of poorly underwritten mortgage loans with almost no limits on who lenders would give money to. That toxic combination led to a crash of the housing market because once banks figured out that mortgages were being given to people with no means to pay them back, they stopped making loans entirely, and the huge number of homes on the market had no one to buy them. Lots of home supply with no demand meant much lower prices and ultimately a crash. Historically though, aside from the 2007 recession, housing prices tend to increase during recessions or at least stay flat. Why? Well, recessions lead to deflation and as a result, lower interest rates. Lower interest rates make housing more affordable, and when housing is more affordable, more people can buy homes, and that increased demand tends to support prices. What is also much different now compared to 2007 is the balance of families who need homes compared to the number of homes available. As of this recording, there are 14 million more households or potential buyers and 2.5 million less homes for sale than we had in 2007. On top of that, builders are still building about 500,000 too few homes for the number of households that are being formed each year. So the supply problem is getting worse. Because of the reasons I've mentioned in this video, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and the National Association of Realtors are all predicting mortgage rates in the high 4s to low 5s in 2023. The challenge is, when and if rates do come down, because of the massive lack of housing supply, the market will snap back to the same position it was in 2020 and 2021, when low interest rates sparked a buying frenzy that had each home listing met with multiple offers, many of which were over asking price. And in that market, so many buyers missed out on dream homes or had to pay thousands over asking price to get their offer accepted. Today's market presents an opportunity. That opportunity is a calmer housing market, one where buyers have some negotiating power and are able to get sellers to drop their price and give money for closing costs and rate buydowns, which means lower payments for potential buyers. There are more homes on the market to choose from, and buyers can build more time and protection into their offers, which leads to a lower stress experience. And keep in mind, when mortgage rates come down in the future, you'll be able to reduce your interest rate and monthly payment. Now, nobody can predict exactly when mortgage rates will come down, but there will be an opportunity in the coming years. Now, if you have questions about your specific scenario or what's going on in your market and any opportunities that maybe you could capitalize on in the coming year, I put a link in the description of the video where you can get more information and possibly book a call to go over your specific scenario. I'm going to be watching all these data points and will bring you the information as it becomes available. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next video.